Welcome to Cheating Tales Lab. Wonderful to have you here today. We're truly grateful for your continued support. Tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? Big city? Small town? We'd love to know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Beneath the Surface. Sean Jordan sat at the poker table, his expression neutral as he studied his cards. The weekly neighborhood game provided the perfect cover for his observations. Around him, for other men focused intently on their hands, chips stacked neatly before them. But Sean's attention wasn't on the game. His wife Tiffany's footsteps echoed from upstairs, followed by the familiar sound of the bathroom door closing, her third trip in the past hour. Sean noted the time, 9:47 p.m. The pattern was becoming clear. "Raise you 50, Mark Stevens announced, pushing forward a stack of chips. Sean matched the bet without hesitation, his mind calculating a different set of probabilities. Through years of MI6 training, he'd learned to compartmentalize, to appear engaged while his senses remained alert to his surroundings. The buzz of Tiffany's phone vibrated through the ceiling, a sound that would have been imperceptible to most. "You're quiet tonight, Sean," Dave Peterson remarked, taking a sip of his beer. "Usually by now you're telling us about your latest security consultation horror stories." Sean offered a measured smile. "Just focused on the game." "Speaking of horror stories, how's that new alarm system working out?" As Dave launched into a complaint about false alarms, Sean's enhanced hearing picked up Tiffany's whispered conversation upstairs. The words were muffled, but her tone carried an urgency he'd grown increasingly familiar with. The game continued for another hour. As his guests departed, Sean caught a glimpse of headlights through the window. A dark sedan parked 2 houses down. The car hadn't been there during previous poker nights. "Great game, everyone," Tiffany called from the top of the stairs, her voice carrying the practiced warmth of a yoga instructor. She descended, wearing yoga pants and one of her studio's branded tops. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a perfect ponytail, not a strand out of place despite her supposed bathroom breaks. Sean gathered the empty bottles and chips, his movements deliberate. "How's the studio doing, honey? You mentioned something about new workshops?" "Amazing." Tiffany's enthusiasm seemed genuine, but Sean detected the slight pitch change in her voice, a tell he'd identified during his detective days. "Matthew and I are expanding the class schedule. The demand is incredible." Matthew Roberson. Sean had run a background check on Tiffany's business partner months ago when his instincts first flickered. Old money, impressive education, charming personality, and several flags that wouldn't show up in standard searches. "That's great," Sean responded, maintaining his role as the supportive husband. "You've been putting in a lot of extra hours lately." Tiffany's fingers twitched toward her phone. Another tell. "Well, success requires sacrifice. You understand that, Mr. Security Consultant." The irony wasn't lost on Sean. His cover as a security consultant provided the perfect explanation for his irregular hours and occasional bruises. If Tiffany suspected his true occupation, she showed no sign of it. "Speaking of work," she continued, "I have an early morning meeting tomorrow. Some potential investors are interested in franchising opportunities." Sean nodded, noting how she avoided specifying the time or location. "Don't forget we have dinner with your parents this weekend." A flash of something, annoyance? Worry? Crossed Tiffany's face before her yoga instructor smile returned. "Of course not. Mom's been texting me all week about it." Later that night, Sean lay awake, listening to Tiffany's measured breathing beside him. His phone buzzed, a message from his MI6 handler, Garrett. "Unusual chatter in local channels. Maintain operational security. Check in tomorrow." Sean deleted the message, his jaw tightening. The timing wasn't coincidental. Something was brewing, and his years of experience told him personal and professional threats were about to intersect. The next morning, Sean maintained his routine. Up at 5 a.m., coffee brewing by 5:15. He watched through the kitchen window as the same dark sedan from the previous night drove past their house, too slow to be a regular commuter. His phone rang. Nate Little, his friend from his police days. Now a private investigator, Nate had become an invaluable source of street-level intelligence. "Sean, got something you need to hear." Nate's voice was low, urgent. "Remember those properties we discussed? Found a connection." The buyer's been using shell companies, but the patterns match those locations your wife mentioned for her workshops. Sean's grip tightened on his coffee mug. Send me everything you have. Already did. Encrypted file, usual protocol. Sean, be careful. These aren't small-time players. The conversation ended as Tiffany entered the kitchen, dressed for her morning class. She grabbed her protein smoothie from the fridge, avoiding Sean's eyes. Don't wait up tonight, she said, checking her reflection in her phone screen. Emergency studio meeting. Some issues with the new location's permits. Need any help? I know some people in the zoning office. No. The response came too quickly. Tiffany softened her tone. No thank you. Matthew's handling it. He has connections. Sean watched her leave, noting how she checked her mirrors before pulling out of the driveway. Amateur surveillance detection, but telling nonetheless. His sister Amanda's unexpected visit that afternoon added another layer of complexity. A respected psychologist, she possessed the same analytical mind that had made Sean an excellent detective. You've lost weight, she observed, studying him over lunch at his favorite diner. And don't tell me it's from working out more. I know stress when I see it. Sean adjusted his watch, a habit from his early MI6 days. Just busy with work. New clients, bigger projects. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Funny, that's exactly what Tiffany said when I ran into her last week. At that new hotel downtown, the Peninsula. She mentioned she was there for a yoga workshop, but her outfit seemed more business casual than yoga appropriate. Sean filed away the information, maintaining his composure. The studio's expanding. Lots of meetings. Sean. Amanda's voice dropped. As your sister and a mental health professional, I need you to know I'm here if you need to talk. About anything. The conversation shifted to safer topics, but Sean's mind was already processing the new information, adding it to his mental map of Tiffany's activities. That evening, while reviewing Nate's files, Sean heard Max, their golden retriever, growling at the front door. Unusual behavior for the normally friendly dog. Moments later, Tiffany entered, and Max's growls intensified. What's gotten into him? Tiffany asked, keeping her distance. Sean watched as Max continued to display aggression toward his wife, noting how the dog's behavior had changed gradually over the past few months, coinciding with Tiffany's increased absences. Maybe he's picking up on something, Sean suggested, studying her reaction. Tiffany's laugh held a note of nervousness. Don't be ridiculous. He probably smells the other dogs from the studio. The community charity event that weekend provided Sean with another opportunity to observe. He positioned himself near the silent auction tables, ostensibly examining the items while Tiffany worked the room. We need to accelerate the timeline, he heard her say into her phone, her voice barely above a whisper. He's becoming suspicious. No, I can handle him. Just make sure everything's in place. The conversation ended abruptly as she noticed Sean approaching. Her smile was immediate, practiced. Honey, see anything worth bidding on? Just keeping my options open, he replied, the double meaning clear to him alone. You seem stressed. Everything okay? Tiffany's expression hardened for a moment before she caught herself. I'm fine. You're being paranoid again. This is exactly why I need space to breathe, Sean. Your constant hovering, your questions, your need to control everything. The accusations were calculated, designed to put him on the defensive. Sean recognized the tactic. He'd used similar techniques during interrogations. I'm just concerned, he said, playing his role. You've been distant lately. Maybe because you won't give me room to grow. Tiffany's voice rose slightly, drawing attention from nearby guests. I'm trying to build something here, Sean. The studio is my chance to be more than just your wife. The performance was convincing. Sean watched as several other guests shot him disapproving looks, already casting him as the controlling husband. Later that night, reviewing his surveillance footage, Sean allowed himself a moment of cold anger. The cameras he'd discreetly installed had captured Tiffany making several calls from the garden, each time checking for witnesses first. The pieces were coming together, forming a picture he'd suspected but hoped to avoid. His phone buzzed with another message from Garrett. Meeting tomorrow, 0800, usual place. Critical information regarding local security concerns. Sean sent a brief acknowledgement, then continued watching the footage. On screen, Tiffany paced the garden, her conversation becoming heated. I don't care what it takes. He's becoming a problem, and problems need to be solved. The implied threat would have chilled a lesser man. But Sean Jordan wasn't an ordinary husband, and he'd faced far worse than a cheating wife and her ambitious lover. As he switched off the monitor, his expression remained neutral, but his eyes held the cold calculation of a predator assessing its prey. The game was escalating, and Sean was done playing defense. It was time to remind everyone why he'd been one of MI6's most effective operatives. Tiffany and Matthew were about to learn that betraying a trained operative carried consequences far beyond their worst nightmares. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Foundation. Sean's office was silent except for the soft hum of his encrypted laptop. The monitoring software displayed multiple feeds tracking Tiffany's movements throughout the day. His MI6 training had taught him the value of patience in surveillance operations, and now those skills served a more personal mission. Target entering location Delta, his computer announced quietly. The yoga studio's front entrance showed Tiffany arriving for her afternoon class. 30 minutes later, a familiar Mercedes pulled into the back lot. Matthew Roberson stepped out, adjusting his designer's suit before entering through the service entrance. Sean's phone lit up with a text from his surveillance program. Target B flight details confirmed: Dallas, Houston, Miami. The pattern matched perfectly with Tiffany's recent workshop locations. A knock at his door interrupted his analysis. "Come in." Garrett Hutchinson entered, his MI6 credentials visible for a moment as he tucked them away. "Your training session with the new recruits starts in 30. But first, we need to discuss something." Sean minimized his surveillance feeds. "What's on your mind?" "You've been distracted." Garrett's tone was matter-of-fact. "The recruits haven't noticed, but I have. Your last 3 reports included details about local real estate holdings that have nothing to do with our current operations." "Background research," Sean replied smoothly. "Some interesting patterns in property acquisitions. By your wife's business partner?" Garrett raised an eyebrow. "Sean, I've known you long enough to know when something's off. Whatever's happening, don't let it compromise our work." Sean's expression remained neutral, but his voice carried a dangerous edge. "Have I ever compromised an operation? No. That's why I'm here as a friend, not your handler." Garrett sighed. "Just be careful. Personal vendettas have a way of clouding judgment." The training session provided Sean with an outlet for his growing tension. He drove the recruits hard, demonstrating advanced combat techniques with controlled brutality that left several of them nursing bruises. "You're not fighting fair fights," he instructed, helping a recruit up after a particularly harsh takedown. "Your opponents won't announce their intentions. They won't follow rules. Neither should you." After the session, Sean received an unexpected visit from Joan Kelly, his neighbor from 3 doors down. She caught him in the driveway, her expression troubled. "Sean, I've been meaning to talk to you," she began, glancing around to ensure privacy. "It's about Tiffany and that business partner of hers." Sean's interest sharpened, though his face showed only polite attention. "Oh, several of us have noticed things during studio events. The way they interact." Joan wrung her hands. "Linda saw them at Riverside Park last week. They seemed very familiar with each other." "Familiar how?" "The kind of familiar that married people shouldn't be with someone who isn't their spouse." Joan met his eyes. "We didn't want to say anything, but after what happened at the charity event, we're worried about you, Sean." Sean played his role perfectly, showing just enough confusion and concern. "I appreciate you telling me. Tiffany's been under a lot of stress with the studio expansion." "That's not all," Joan continued, lowering her voice. "My Henry works at First National. He says the studio's finances aren't looking good. There's talk about irregular transfers, missing funds." The information confirmed Sean's suspicions about Matthew's influence. Later that evening, an encrypted email arrived from an unexpected source: Geneva Best, Matthew's ex-wife. "Mr. Jordan, I know what they're doing. I've seen it before. Matthew has a pattern: find successful women, charm them, then use their resources and connections for his schemes. Check the attached documents. And watch your back." Jeeboo. The files revealed a history of failed businesses and questionable transactions. Matthew's pattern was clear. Establish trust, create financial dependency, then exploit until nothing remained. Sean's investigation was interrupted by Tiffany's return home. She breezed into his office, dressed in theater clothes rather than her usual yoga attire. "I've joined the community theater group," she announced brightly. "We're doing Death of a Salesman. The director says I have natural talent." "That's new," Sean observed. "I thought you were focused on the studio expansion." "I need something for myself, Sean. A creative outlet." Her voice took on a familiar defensive tone. "Unless you have a problem with that too?" "No problem. Break a leg." He watched her leave, noting how her theatrical ambitions coincided perfectly with gaps in his surveillance coverage. The next morning, during his annual physical, Dr. Dennis Johnston frowned at Sean's test results. "Your blood pressure's elevated. Stress levels are through the roof. Whatever's going on, you need to address it before it becomes serious." "Just work pressure," Sean deflected, though his mind was already calculating how to use this information. "I'm recommending counseling," Dr. Johnston continued. "Perhaps couples therapy? Many of my patients find it helpful during difficult periods." Sean's response was interrupted by an urgent text from his surveillance system. Tiffany had just entered a downtown hotel, one not on her usual route or class schedule. The couple's therapy session, which Tiffany surprisingly agreed to, proved illuminating. Sean watched as she masterfully manipulated the narrative. "He's always been intense," she told Dr. Sarah Martinez, tears glistening. "But lately, it's different. The constant questions, the way he monitors my schedule. Sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating." "Sean?" Dr. Martinez turned to him. "How do you respond to Tiffany's concerns?" "I want to understand what's changing in our relationship," he replied carefully. "When communication breaks down, suspicion fills the gap." "Suspicion?" Tiffany's voice rose. "See? He doesn't trust me. Everything I do is questioned. My work, my friends, my independence." The performance deserved an award, Sean thought coldly. He'd seen hardened operatives crack under less skilled manipulation. That evening, reviewing his surveillance data, Sean noticed something interesting. Matthew's business empire showed signs of strain. Board meeting minutes, obtained through carefully placed sources, revealed growing concerns about his erratic behavior and absences. A fire in Sean's home office that night destroyed several documents, but not the ones Tiffany and Matthew thought they were targeting. Sean had prepared for this, storing decoy files in obvious locations while keeping vital intelligence elsewhere. The arson investigators found traces of accelerant, just as Sean expected. The technique matched methods used by local professionals, ones he knew were connected to Matthew's less legitimate business ventures. "It's definitely professional work," the fire investigator told him. "But they were sloppy. Left too much evidence." Sean nodded, playing the concerned homeowner while inwardly noting how the attack revealed another layer of Matthew's resources. The game was escalating, but Sean had expected this. Each move by his opponents revealed more of their plan, their capabilities, and ultimately, their vulnerabilities. In his secure basement room, surrounded by monitors displaying surveillance feeds, financial records, and intelligence reports, Sean began planning his response. Tiffany and Matthew thought they were dealing with a simple ex-cop turned security consultant. Their mistake would cost them everything. His phone buzzed, another message from Garrett. "Whatever you're planning, remember, no official MI6 resources. You're on your own for this one." Sean smiled coldly. He'd been on his own before. It wasn't his enemies who should be worried about lack of support. As he reviewed the evidence of their betrayal, the secret meetings, the financial manipulations, the staged incidents, Sean felt no anger, only a cold, calculating focus. They had chosen this path, thinking him an easy target. Now they would learn why his enemies in the intelligence world spoke his name in whispers. The foundation of Tiffany and Matthew's plan was cracking, revealing the rot beneath their perfect facade. Soon, very soon, they would understand the true meaning of consequences. Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. MI6 secure meeting room felt different today. Garrett Hutchinson paced behind his desk, concern etched on his features as he studied Sean's latest mission report. 3 missed targets in the Hamburg operation, Garrett said, tossing the file onto his desk. "That's not like you, Sean. Want to tell me what's really going on?" Sean maintained his composed demeanor. Random variance. It happens. Bullshit. Garrett leaned forward. Your concentration is shot. Your timing's off. I've known you too long to buy that excuse. A moment of silence passed between them before Sean spoke. My marriage is compromised. Garrett's expression shifted from concern to understanding. The wife? How bad? She's planning something with her business partner. Something terminal. Christ. Garrett rubbed his face. You need official intervention? No. Sean's voice carried a finality that made even his handler pause. This is personal. Just remember who you are, Sean. Don't let this turn you into something you'll regret. The conversation replayed in Sean's mind as he drove home, only to find an unexpected visitor waiting in his driveway. Trina Gillespie stood beside her car, her stance marking her immediately as former CIA. Mr. Jordan, she called out. Got a minute to discuss your security consultation request? Sean hadn't made any such request, but he recognized a cover when he heard one. They walked to his backyard, maintaining the pretense of a business discussion. Your wife's lover is making waves, Trina said once they were clear. My firm's been tracking his activities. He's not just a yoga studio investor. I'm aware. Are you aware he's been meeting with Victor Rostov's crew? Small-time enforcers, but hungry. They've been watching your morning running route. Sean absorbed the information. How'd you make me? Hamburg, 2019. That thing with the Serbian arms dealer. Trina smiled slightly. Nobody else could have pulled that off. When I saw your name connected to this situation, I figured you could use some unofficial backup. Their conversation was interrupted by Max's barking from inside the house. Through the window, they could see Tiffany moving through the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. Your surveillance pick up anything useful? Trina asked. She's building a network. Different men, all connected to Matthew's businesses. Each one knows a piece, but not the whole picture. Smart. Compartmentalization. Trina nodded. But risky. More players mean more potential leaks. Later that evening, Sean's enhanced surveillance system captured Matthew entering a notorious bar in Chicago's South Side. The location was known territory for local crime families, definitely not Matthew's usual social circle. He's getting desperate, Nate commented over their secure line. My sources say he's reaching out to some serious players. Guys who don't take kindly to amateurs. Keep watching, Sean instructed. I want names, dates, locations. The situation reached a new level when Esther Bird, Tiffany's mother, confronted her daughter during an unexpected visit to the yoga studio. Sean's hidden cameras captured the exchange. I'm not blind, Tiffany. Esther's voice trembled with anger. I see what you're doing to Sean. Your father and I raised you better than this. You don't understand anything, Tiffany shot back. Sean is controlling, paranoid. He's suffocating me. Is that what Matthew told you? Did he also tell you about the other women? The failed businesses? Get out. Tiffany's face contorted with rage. You're just like Sean, trying to control my life. I'm done with all of you. The confrontation ended with Tiffany cutting ties with her family, claiming Sean's paranoia had poisoned them against her. The performance was convincing. Sean had to admire her commitment to the role. His training regimen intensified, drawing attention at the local martial arts center. During a particularly intense session, he noticed a young man watching his techniques with unusual focus. That counter you used, the young man approached afterward. I've never seen it executed so precisely. Just something I picked up, Sean replied, studying the newcomer. I'm Ismail Holmes. The young man's eyes showed an intelligence that belied his age. And that wasn't just something you picked up. That was Spetsnaz close combat technique, modified for urban application. Sean's interest sharpened. You seem well informed. I pay attention. Ismail glanced around before lowering his voice. Like I've been paying attention to the guys watching your house. They're not as subtle as they think. A sophisticated cyber attack hit Sean's personal devices that night, probing for weaknesses. The attempt was professional but predictable. Exactly what he'd expect from someone with Matthew's resources. Sean allowed certain files to be compromised, feeding false information about his vulnerabilities. The decoded attack signature confirmed his suspicions about Matthew's technical capabilities. The annual charity gala at the Chicago Art Institute provided Tiffany with her grandest stage yet. She arrived separately from Sean, working the room with practiced charm until the perfect moment presented itself. "I can't take it anymore." Her voice carried across the ballroom, drawing all eyes to their corner. "You're tracking my phone, aren't you? Checking my emails? What kind of husband spies on his own wife?" Sean maintained his calm facade as whispers spread through the crowd. Nearby, he noticed Matthew watching with barely concealed satisfaction. "Tiffany, this isn't the place," Sean began, playing his role. "It never is. There's never a right place or time to discuss your controlling behavior, your constant suspicion." Tears streaked her perfectly applied makeup. "I'm suffocating, Sean. You're destroying me." The performance had its intended effect. Society matrons shot Sean disapproving glares. Men he'd considered friends stepped back, distancing themselves from the alleged abuser. That night, as Sean reviewed the day's surveillance footage, he captured the conversation that would change everything. Tiffany's voice, clear and cold, came through his hidden microphones at 2 a.m. "He's just a pathetic ex-cop," she laughed into her phone. "Your men can easily take him out during his morning jog." Matthew's response was equally clear. "It's arranged. Make sure you're seen at the studio when it happens. Nothing can connect back to us." In his secure room, Sean allowed himself a small, dangerous smile. They'd finally shown their full hand, not realizing they'd given him everything he needed. The time for observation was over. He began accessing his private servers, encrypted files containing contingency plans he'd hoped never to use. On his screens, financial records, surveillance footage, and intelligence reports painted a complete picture of their betrayal. "Computer, initiate Protocol 0, he commanded. "Authorization code, Sierra Juliet 1984. "Protocol 0 activated," the system responded. "Contingency measures armed and ready." Sean leaned back, his expression cold and focused. Tiffany and Matthew thought they were dealing with a simple ex-cop, a man they could manipulate and eliminate. Their fatal mistake was never asking why a former detective would have MI6 connections, or how a mere security consultant could afford such sophisticated surveillance equipment. They wanted to play a deadly game? Fine. But they were about to learn they'd chosen the wrong man to betray. Sean Jordan hadn't earned his reputation by showing mercy to those who crossed him. The breaking point had arrived, and with it, the end of his restraint. Tiffany and Matthew had written the first act of this tragedy. Now Sean would show them how it ends. Chapter 4. Operation Black Dawn. Sean's phone buzzed at 4:30 a.m. A text message appeared. "Training exercise initiated. Alpha team en route. 20 minutes. He checked his surveillance feeds. 3 men in dark clothing lurked near his usual running route, attempting to blend into the pre-dawn darkness. Amateur work. They'd positioned themselves too close to the streetlights, creating distinct silhouettes. "Confirm positions," Sean typed into his encrypted communicator. 4 green dots appeared on his tactical display, marking his team's locations around the neighborhood. At 5:15 a.m., dressed in his running gear, Sean stepped out his front door. Tiffany watched from the bedroom window, her silhouette visible against the curtains. He could picture her satisfied smile, thinking their plan was working perfectly. The first attacker made his move near the park entrance. A heavy-set man in a black hoodie, moving with the clumsy aggression of a street thug. Sean maintained his pace, appearing oblivious until the last moment. The man lunged, switchblade glinting. Sean's response was brutal and efficient. A precision strike to the throat, followed by a knee to the solar plexus. The attacker hadn't hit the ground before Sean's team moved in. "Target secured," a voice whispered in Sean's earpiece. 2 more approaching from the south. The remaining thugs walked straight into the trap. Marcus, Sean's demolitions expert, emerged from behind a parked van. Sarah, his infiltration specialist, stepped out of the shadows of a doorway. The takedowns were swift, professional, and completely silent. "Area contained," Marcus reported. "No witnesses, no cameras." Sean approached the first attacker, who wheezed on the ground, clutching his throat. "Let's have a chat about Matthew Roberson." 2 hours later, in an abandoned warehouse converted into a command center, Trina Gillespie reviewed the morning's footage. "Clean work. They never saw it coming." Talk to me about the intel, Sean demanded, studying the multiple screens displaying surveillance feeds, financial records, and intelligence reports. They're singing beautifully, Trina replied, pulling up a series of documents. Matthew hired them through an intermediary, Tony Pescatori, small-time enforcer with gambling debts. He claims Matthew promised to clear his markers in exchange for arranging the hit. Sean's sister Amanda walked in, carrying a thick file. I've compiled psychological profiles on both targets. Tiffany's behavior patterns suggest narcissistic personality traits combined with opportunistic tendencies. She's not just following Matthew's lead. She's actively participating in the planning. The money trail confirms it, Trina added. She's been skimming funds from the yoga studio, converting them to cryptocurrency. Matthew's teaching her his tricks. Sean's phone lit up with a message from one of his street contacts. Tiffany had just arrived at the yoga studio, right on schedule. She had no idea her alibi was meaningless now. What about Matthew's criminal connections? Sean asked, turning to the tactical display. Bigger than we thought, Trina responded. The captured thugs mention meetings with representatives from the Kovac syndicate. Apparently, Matthew's been promising them access to high-end real estate for money laundering operations. Amanda studied her brother's expression. You're not surprised. Matthew's trying to play in waters too deep for him, Sean replied. The Kovacs don't tolerate amateurs. A secure line blinked on Sean's phone. Garrett calling. Just heard about some interesting developments in local law enforcement channels, his handler said without preamble. 3 known associates of Tony Pescatori were found unconscious near Lincoln Park. No witnesses, no statements filed. Fascinating, Sean replied neutrally. I'm sure it is. By the way, several ongoing investigations into organized crime activities have been mysteriously redirected away from your neighborhood. Completely unrelated, I'm certain. Completely. Just remember our agreement. This stays unofficial. As the day progressed, Sean's team processed the intelligence gathered from the captured thugs. Each piece revealed more of Matthew's operation and its weaknesses. He's overextended, Trina reported, analyzing financial records. Using the yoga studio as a front for money laundering, but he's getting sloppy. Multiple accounts show irregular patterns that would trigger any decent audit. Speaking of the studio, Amanda interjected, Tiffany's latest social media post just went live. Listen to this. Finding strength through adversity. Sometimes those closest to us can be our greatest obstacles to growth. She's building her victim narrative. Sean's response was interrupted by Ismail Holmes's arrival. The young martial artist had proved his worth, developing a network of street-level informants that provided crucial intelligence. Matthew's meeting with Victor Rostov tonight, Ismail reported. Private room at the Drake Hotel. My contact on the staff says he's been drinking heavily, making phone calls in the bar. He's panicking, Trina observed. The failed hit has him spooked. Good. Sean's voice carried a cold satisfaction. Phase 2 begins tonight. Marcus, prepare the infiltration gear. Sarah, I want complete building schematics for all of Matthew's business locations. What about Tiffany? Amanda asked. She's still moving funds offshore. Sean pulled up a series of transaction records. Let her. Each transfer is tagged and tracked. When the time comes, we'll freeze everything simultaneously. The command center hummed with activity as the team prepared for the next phase. Surveillance feeds showed Tiffany leaving the yoga studio, unaware that her phone, car, and even her jewelry now transmitted her location continuously to Sean's systems. One thing bothers me, Trina said, reviewing the morning's footage. These thugs were too amateur for a serious hit attempt. Either Matthew's getting desperate or this was a test run, Sean finished. Probing our defenses, seeing how I'd react, which means they'll try again, Amanda added. With professionals next time, let them come. Sean's expression remained cold, controlled. Each attempt gives us more intelligence, more leverage, more pieces of their network to dismantle. The screens showed Matthew entering the Drake Hotel, his expensive suit failing to hide his nervous demeanor. In the yoga studio, Tiffany taught her evening class, maintaining her serene instructor facade while her phone buzzed with encrypted messages from offshore accounts. They think they're so clever, Amanda observed. playing their roles, building their alibis. People see what they expect to see, Sean replied. A mild-mannered security consultant, a victimized wife, a successful businessman, until suddenly they don't. As night fell, Sean reviewed the day's developments. The failed hit had provided exactly the intelligence he needed. Matthew's organization was larger than expected, but riddled with vulnerabilities. Tiffany's betrayal ran deeper than suspected, but her methods were predictable. Most importantly, they still believed they held the initiative. That illusion would be their undoing. Prepare for Phase 2, Sean instructed his team. I want infiltration plans for all major targets by morning. It's time to show them what happens to people who mistake mercy for weakness. In her penthouse apartment, Tiffany slept peacefully, believing her husband remained ignorant of her true plans. In his hotel room, Matthew nursed another scotch, trying to calm his nerves after the failed hit. Neither suspected that Operation Black Dawn was just beginning. Sean's revenge wouldn't be swift or merciful. It would be comprehensive, methodical, and absolute. They had chosen this path, believing him vulnerable. Now they would learn why Sean Jordan's enemies spoke his name in whispers, and why betrayal always carried the highest price. Chapter 5. Escalation. Matthew Roberson's hands shook as he poured his third scotch of the morning. His office at Roberson Enterprises, once a symbol of his success, now felt like a trap. The disappearance of his hired muscle had left him exposed, vulnerable. Mr. Roberson? His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. The board members are waiting in the conference room. Matthew straightened his tie, trying to compose himself. The boardroom felt hostile as he entered, facing the stern faces of his directors. Care to explain these numbers? Richard Kensington, the head of the board, pushed a financial report across the table. Our Chicago properties are hemorrhaging money. 3 development projects halted due to permit issues that mysteriously appeared overnight. Temporary setbacks, Matthew assured them, his voice betraying his anxiety. I have people handling the situation. Like you handled the Davidson merger? They pulled out this morning. No explanation. Behind the scenes, Sean's team watched the meeting through hidden cameras. His empire's cracking, Trina noted, monitoring the feeds from their command center. Those permit issues weren't cheap to arrange. Money well spent, Sean replied, studying Matthew's deteriorating composure. How's our other target? A separate screen showed Tiffany arriving at her parents' house. The conversation inside, captured by directional microphones, grew heated quickly. Mom, Dad, you have to help me, Tiffany pleaded, tears flowing perfectly on cue. Sean, he's not who you think he is. The controlling behavior, the accusations, the threats. Esther Bird's voice carried a mix of anger and disappointment. Threats? Like the ones your boyfriend's associates made against your husband? Tiffany's mask slipped for a moment. What are you talking about? Don't play innocent, Esther snapped. I've been doing my own investigating. Those yoga workshops in Miami? I called the venue. They've never heard of Stone Jordan Studios. You're spying on me? Just like Sean. No, Tiffany. I'm protecting what's left of this family's dignity. Get out. Don't come back until you're ready to tell the truth. Back at the command center, Sean's team monitored multiple operations simultaneously. Marcus reported success in disrupting Matthew's legitimate business ventures, contract problems, permit issues, delayed shipments. Sarah's cyber team had infected his company's networks with subtle glitches that eroded client confidence. The Kovacs syndicate is getting impatient, Ismail reported, returning from his street-level reconnaissance. Their enforcers are asking questions about Matthew's promises. They wanted prime real estate for money laundering, not excuses. Push them harder, Sean instructed. I want Matthew feeling pressure from all sides. Trina interrupted with urgent news. You need to see this. We've uncovered something in Matthew's shipping manifests. The documents revealed a pattern hidden in legitimate cargo shipments. Women brought in from Eastern Europe listed as specialized training staff for the yoga studio chain. Human trafficking, Trina's voice carried cold anger. He's using the studios as distribution points. Sean studied the evidence. Can we confirm Tiffany's involvement? She signs off on the staff paperwork, Trina replied. Claims ignorance of the details. but the money trail suggests otherwise. The revelation threatened to complicate Sean's plans. Human trafficking would attract federal attention that could expose his own operations. "Sir," Marcus called from his station. "Matthew's making moves. Multiple calls to known associates, trying to accelerate his plans against you." The surveillance feeds showed Matthew in his office, desperation evident in his actions. "I don't care what it costs," he shouted into his phone. "Find someone who can handle this. The Kovacs, the Bratva, anyone. His sloppiness is drawing attention," Garrett warned during their secure call. "3 federal agencies have opened preliminary investigations. I can redirect some of it, but you need to move faster." Sean's health monitor beeped, blood pressure spiking again. Dr. Johnston's warnings echoed in his mind, but he pushed the concern aside. Physical discomfort was irrelevant. "Boss," Sarah's voice carried urgency. "Tiffany's PR campaign is gaining traction. Local news picked up her story. They're painting you as an abusive ex-cop who couldn't handle his wife's success." The media coverage showed Tiffany in full victim mode, supported by several prominent community members. "He couldn't stand that I was building something for myself," she told reporters, her voice breaking perfectly. "The constant monitoring, the accusations, the implicit threats. The community's turning against you," Amanda observed, monitoring social media reactions. "Several of your neighbors have come forward with evidence of controlling behavior." Sean's response was cold, calculated. "Let them believe what they want. Public opinion is irrelevant to the endgame." Garrett's next call carried more complications. "We have a problem. State Department's taken interest in Matthew's international operations. They're connecting dots we don't want connected. How much time?" "Days, maybe less. Whatever you're planning, accelerate it." The situation deteriorated further when Sean's team detected a breach in their security protocols. Someone had accessed their surveillance data, though the intrusion was caught before critical information was compromised. The leak came from inside, Trina reported, tracing the breach. "Someone with clearance to our secondary systems." Sean's expression hardened. "Lock down everything. No one, including Nate, gets access without direct authorization from me." The betrayal struck deeper than expected. Nate had been his friend since their police days, but trust was a luxury Sean could no longer afford. Events reached a crescendo when Tiffany's lawyers filed for divorce and a restraining order. The documentation painted a picture of escalating abuse and paranoid behavior, supported by witnesses from their social circle. "They're trying to limit your movement," Amanda analyzed. The restraining order would restrict your access to key locations, make surveillance more difficult. Sean's response surprised his team. He laughed, a cold, dangerous sound that made even hardened operatives uncomfortable. "They still think they're dealing with a system that plays by rules," he said, reviewing the legal documents. "Time to show them how wrong they are." The commands went out to his team. Marcus and Sarah began implementing more aggressive disruption protocols. Trina's intelligence unit accelerated their penetration of Matthew's organization. Ismail's street network spread whispers that turned criminal allies against each other. "Sir," Marcus reported late that night, "Matthew's heading to a meeting with Kovacs people. He looks unstable." The surveillance feed showed Matthew entering a known mob hangout, his movements erratic, his usual smooth confidence shattered. He'd driven himself there. No security, no backup. "He's breaking," Trina observed. "Making mistakes." "Good." Sean's voice carried no emotion. "Push harder. I want them both so desperate they'll grasp at any chance for escape." In her apartment, Tiffany celebrated the restraining order with champagne, believing she'd scored a crucial victory. She didn't notice the new patterns in her phone's background processes, the slight delays in her banking apps, the occasional clicks on her secure line. Matthew, leaving the mob meeting with shaking hands, didn't realize his car's GPS had been compromised, his phone cloned, his emails intercepted. They thought the legal system would protect them, that their social connections would shield them, that their criminal allies would provide muscle. They were about to learn that such protections meant nothing against an opponent who'd spent his life dismantling exactly those kinds of defenses. Sean Jordan didn't just want revenge. He wanted to create a lesson that would echo through Chicago's underworld for years to come. Betrayal carried a price too terrible to contemplate. Chapter 6. The Counterstrike. In the command center, Sean activated his latest operation. Begin information dissemination. Let's see how they handle fighting ghosts. Trina's fingers flew across her keyboard, initiating their misinformation protocols. Within hours, Matthew's criminal contacts began receiving conflicting intelligence about his activities. Package delivered to the Kovacs, a message read. Payment confirmed. Deal with the Bratva finalized, another stated. Kovac territory compromised. Matthew's phone buzzed constantly with angry messages from his underworld connections, each believing he'd betrayed them for their rivals. Your digital warfare strategy is working, Marcus reported. Matthew's communications are in chaos. He can't contact his allies without triggering suspicion. His legitimate business partners are jumping ship too, Sarah added. 3 board members resigned this morning. The stock's in free fall. Sean studied the monitors showing Matthew's increasing desperation. His target had made 4 attempts to contact his offshore accounts, only to find his access mysteriously restricted. Sir, Ismail called out. You have a visitor. Esther Bird. Tiffany's mother entered the command center, clutching a thick folder. Her eyes widened at the sophisticated operation before her, but she maintained her composure. I've been conducting my own investigation, she said, handing Sean the folder. Bank statements, phone records, hotel receipts. Tiffany wasn't just having an affair. She was helping Matthew target other wealthy spouses for his schemes. Sean reviewed the evidence. How long have you known? I suspected when she started the yoga studio. The numbers never added up. Esther's voice hardened. I raised her better than this. Whatever you're planning, I won't interfere. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. One of Matthew's warehouses had reported a major drug shipment missing. The security footage showed local police conducting a surprise raid. Garrett's handiwork? Trina asked. Sean nodded. He's making it look like Matthew's operation was exposed through routine surveillance. The timing couldn't be better. The criminal underworld reacted exactly as planned. Matthew's phone lit up with threats from his former associates, each believing he'd sacrificed their interests to save himself. Boss, Sarah reported, Tiffany's trying to access your joint accounts. The automatic alerts just triggered. The screens showed Tiffany at an ATM, growing increasingly frustrated as her cards were declined. Her phone call to the bank was routed to a special team Sean had prepared. I'm sorry, Mrs. Jordan, the bank representative said. These transactions have been flagged for potential fraud. We'll need to conduct a full investigation. Sean's team tracked her movements as she drove frantically between banks, each attempt to access funds meeting the same response. Her calls to Matthew went straight to voicemail, his phone disabled by Trina's digital warfare. The criminal elements are making moves, Ismail reported. The Kovacs and Bratva have formed a temporary alliance. They're targeting both Matthew and their suspected rivals. Perfect. Sean's expression remained cold. Let them tear each other apart. Each confrontation provides more evidence for law enforcement. Garrett's secure line activated. It's done. Key evidence has been discovered by routine patrols. Local law enforcement is building a case without realizing they're following our breadcrumbs. Sean's enhanced training program showed results as his team coordinated multiple operations simultaneously. Marcus led a strike team that intercepted Matthew's attempt to move assets. Sarah's cyber unit blocked Tiffany's desperate emails to her network of allies. Their social circle is crumbling, Amanda reported, monitoring communications. 3 yoga studio investors have demanded emergency meetings. Their lawyers are reviewing all past transactions. The pressure mounted as anonymous sources began leaking information about Tiffany's affair to local media. Photos appeared showing her and Matthew in compromising situations at various hotels. The yoga studio's reputation is tanking, Trina noted. Class attendance down 60%. Online reviews mentioning unprofessional behavior and questionable business practices. Sean's most daring move came as Matthew attempted to salvage his criminal connections. A carefully planted file appeared on a seized laptop, suggesting Matthew had orchestrated the failed hit attempt to eliminate rivals within the organization. The Kovacs found it, Ismail confirmed. Their enforcers are mobilizing. Matthew's security team just quit, They won't go against the syndicate. In his penthouse office, Matthew's desperation reached new heights. Security cameras showed him destroying documents, his movements frantic. Each drawer he emptied, each file he shredded, revealed new evidence Sean's team had planted. "Sir," Marcus called out, "Tiffany's approaching the building. She's demanding to see Matthew." The confrontation in Matthew's office played out on their screens, captured by hidden cameras. "You promised me everything was under control," Tiffany screamed, her composed yoga instructor facade shattered. "My accounts are frozen, my studio is failing, and my mother's giving evidence against me." "Keep your voice down," Matthew hissed, checking for bugs they'd already found. "This is just temporary. Once we deal with Sean, deal with him? Like your thugs dealt with him?" Tiffany's laugh held an edge of hysteria. "Face it, Matthew. You underestimated him. We both did. No one could have predicted. He was a MI6. Tiffany's voice rose again. "All this time, we thought we were playing a simple ex-cop, but we were actually taking on a trained operative." The revelation stunned Matthew into silence. On the surveillance feed, his face showed the first real fear they'd seen. How did you find out?" "It doesn't matter," Tiffany snapped. "What matters is we're finished. The restraining order was our last chance, and even that's backfiring. Somehow, he's turning everything against us." Sean watched the exchange with cold satisfaction. "Initiate final phase," he commanded his team. "I want maximum pressure on all fronts." The operation moved into high gear. Sarah's cyber unit unleashed targeted attacks on Matthew's remaining business infrastructure. Marcus's team intercepted attempts to move physical assets. Trina's intelligence operation fed devastating information to both law enforcement and criminal elements. "They're running out of options," Amanda observed. "The psychological pressure is breaking them." "Good." Sean's voice carried no emotion. "Now they'll understand what real fear feels like." The command center hummed with activity as Sean's team coordinated their final moves. Each operation was designed to tighten the noose, eliminating options until his targets had nowhere left to turn. Matthew's criminal connections were now fully turned against him, believing him responsible for their recent losses. Tiffany's social support network crumbled as evidence of her deceptions emerged. Their attempts to fight back only provided more ammunition for Sean's campaign. The sophistication of Sean's operation became clear as each of their desperate moves triggered new traps. Financial transfers revealed hidden accounts. Attempts to contact allies exposed new connections. Each escape route they tried led to another dead end. Sean watched their increasing panic with the patience of a predator who knows its prey is trapped. They had thought themselves clever, plotting against what they believed was a simple ex-cop. Now they were learning the true cost of their miscalculation. The evidence linking Matthew to the failed hit attempt circulated through Chicago's criminal underground, turning his former allies into deadly enemies. Each piece of information Sean released was calculated to maximize the damage while maintaining his plausible deniability. As night fell, Sean reviewed the day's developments. His targets were isolated, their resources dwindling, their options disappearing. The next phase would push them beyond their breaking point. "Your revenge is nearly complete," Trina observed. "They'll never recover from this." "This isn't just revenge," Sean replied, his voice cold. "This is justice. They chose to betray the wrong man. Now they'll serve as an example of the consequences." The screens showed Tiffany and Matthew in their separate locations, both showing signs of cracking under the pressure. They had started this war, believing themselves hunters. Only now did they realize they had always been the prey. Chapter 7. The Unraveling. Matthew Roberson's hands gripped his desk as he faced three of Chicago's most dangerous crime figures. Victor Kovac's scarred face showed no emotion as he slid photos across the polished surface. "Explain this," Victor demanded. The images showed Matthew meeting with rival organizations, documented dates matching the failed hit attempt on Sean. "These are forgeries," Matthew protested, his voice cracking. "Someone's trying to frame me." "We found your signature on transfer documents," Victor cut him off. "Money moving through shell companies, timed perfectly with attacks on our operations. That's impossible. I never." "Your own men confirmed it." The crime boss leaned forward. "Before they disappeared." In the command center, Sean watched the confrontation through hidden cameras. How's our other target responding to the pressure? Trina pulled up footage of the yoga studio. Tiffany paced her office, phone pressed to her ear. Karen, please, you have to help me. The studio needs this investment. Hello? Hello? The call ended, another former ally cutting ties. Tiffany's network was disintegrating exactly as planned. Her last 3 attempts to contact studio supporters have failed, Amanda reported, reviewing the surveillance logs. The rumors about her criminal connections are spreading through their social circle. Sean's operation had entered its final phase. Each piece of evidence, each leaked photo, each whispered rumor had been calculated for maximum impact. Her yoga students are canceling memberships, Sarah noted. Online reviews mentioning possible fraud, questioning where their membership fees went. Tiffany's desperation grew as she called former friends from her contact list. Each conversation ended the same way, polite excuses followed by disconnected lines. You don't understand, she pleaded to her former business partner. These allegations are lies. Sean is behind all of this. Really? The woman's voice turned cold. Like those lies about you embezzling from the studio building fund? The bank records look real enough. In his penthouse office, Matthew faced another crisis. His board of directors had called an emergency meeting via video conference. The SEC is investigating irregularities in our Asian subsidiaries, the board chairman announced. Furthermore, several major shareholders have expressed concerns about your recent behavior. I can explain. Save it for the authorities. As of this moment, you're suspended from all company operations. Sean's team monitored multiple feeds as Matthew's world collapsed. His access card stopped working. His executive parking spot was reassigned. His assistant's desk sat empty. She'd resigned that morning. Sir, Marcus called out. You need to see this. The screen showed Tiffany attempting to board a flight to the Cayman Islands. Airport security approached her at the gate. Ma'am, there are some irregularities with your passport, the agent said. Please come with us. Sean's planted evidence had triggered multiple flags in the immigration system. Tiffany's desperate escape attempt only strengthened the case against her. Back in the command center, Esther Bird and Amanda Garrett worked together, compiling statements from witnesses to Tiffany's indiscretions. The country club staff confirmed it, Esther said, her voice tight with controlled anger. She and Matthew used private rooms for their meetings, always paying in cash. Amanda added another file to their growing dossier. 3 yoga instructors provided sworn statements about unauthorized charges to student accounts. The money trail leads directly to Matthew's shell companies. The criminal underworld's response exceeded even Sean's expectations. Matthew's former allies turned on him with brutal efficiency. His private security detail resigned en masse. His criminal connections vanished. Please, Matthew begged into his phone. I need protection. They're coming after me. You made your choice, the voice replied. When you tried to play both sides. Now deal with the consequences. Sean watched as his target's relationships deteriorated under pressure. Surveillance caught Tiffany and Matthew arguing in his private garage. You promised me protection, Tiffany screamed. Now my business is ruined. My reputation is destroyed. And the FBI is asking questions about student fees. Keep your voice down, Matthew hissed. This garage might be bugged. Like it matters now? Sean's 10 steps ahead of us. He has been from the start. Their argument ended with Tiffany storming out, leaving Matthew alone with his crumbling empire. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from angry investors, suspicious authorities, and former criminal partners demanding answers. In the studio's office, Tiffany faced her own reckoning. A group of senior yoga instructors confronted her with evidence of financial misconduct. We found the real accounts, her head instructor said. The ones showing where our pension contributions actually went. I can explain. Save it for the labor board. They're very interested in hearing about this. Sean's operation had grown beyond mere revenge. It had become a precision instrument of justice, dismantling not just his target's current schemes, but their entire foundation of lies. Matthew's legitimate businesses are filing for bankruptcy, Trina reported. Board members are cooperating with federal investigators. And Tiffany? Sean asked. Completely isolated. Her social media accounts are flooded with comments about fraud and betrayal. Former students are filing complaints with consumer protection agencies. The psychological impact showed clearly on their targets. Matthew's polished executive facade cracked, revealing the desperate man beneath. Tiffany's carefully maintained yoga instructor serenity shattered under the weight of mounting evidence. "Sir," Sarah called out. "Matthew's trying to access his emergency funds." "Let him," Sean commanded. "The accounts are monitored." Each attempt provides more evidence for the authorities. The operation's scope became clear as more players fell. Matthew's criminal contacts disappeared or turned hostile. Tiffany's social circle evaporated. Their respective empires, built on lies, fraud, and betrayal, crumbled systematically. In his secure room, Sean reviewed the day's developments. His revenge wasn't just about punishment. It was about exposing the truth. Each revelation, each piece of evidence, stripped away another layer of their carefully constructed facades. They thought they could manipulate the system, he told his team. Now the system will be their downfall. The screens showed his target's increasing isolation. Matthew, barred from his own company, reduced to working from a hotel room. Tiffany, alone in her studio, facing mounting legal notices and cancellation requests. Their attempted murder plot against Sean had been their final mistake. Now they would learn the true meaning of consequences, delivered by a man who had mastered the art of systematic destruction. The unraveling had begun. Sean's revenge would not be swift or merciful. It would be comprehensive, absolute, and most importantly, completely legal. His targets had chosen their path, believing themselves clever manipulators. Now they would understand what it meant to face an opponent who had spent his life dismantling operations far more sophisticated than theirs. Their downfall would serve as a lesson to others who might consider similar betrayals. Sean Jordan didn't just want revenge. He wanted to create a case study in consequences that would echo through Chicago's professional and criminal circles for years to come. Chapter 8. The Final Gambit. Initiate Operation Clean Slate. Sean commanded from the center of his operations room. Multiple screens displayed various aspects of his targets' lives, all about to be systematically destroyed. "All teams in position," Marcus reported. "Waiting for your signal." Sean activated his secure line to Garrett. "Are the federal agents ready?" "SWAT teams are staging 2 blocks from Matthew's location," his MI6 handler confirmed. "Local police have sealed off all escape routes." He won't see it coming. The raid on Matthew's temporary office unfolded with brutal efficiency. Surveillance feeds showed armed agents breaching the door, catching him in the middle of destroying evidence. "Matthew Roberson," the lead agent announced, "you're under arrest for racketeering, attempted murder, human trafficking, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Matthew's face drained of color as agents read him an extensive list of charges. Each count referenced evidence that Sean had carefully planted over the previous months. "My lawyer will have this thrown out," Matthew blustered. "You have nothing solid." Actually, an agent interrupted, displaying a tablet. "We have signed statements from your associates detailing your involvement in multiple criminal enterprises." Very thorough confessions. In the command center, Trina pulled up footage of Tiffany arriving at the courthouse for her attempt to defend against the mounting charges. "Mrs. Jordan," reporters swarmed her. "Can you comment on allegations that you helped orchestrate an attempt on your husband's life? What about the missing yoga studio funds? Is it true you were involved in Matthew Roberson's human trafficking operation?" Tiffany's lawyer hustled her through the crowd, but the damage was done. Camera crews captured her panicked expression, broadcasting it across local news networks. Inside the courtroom, Sean's carefully gathered evidence demolished her defense. Bank records showed her signature on transfers to Matthew's shell companies. Email exchanges revealed her knowledge of the criminal operations. Surveillance photos documented meetings with known criminals. "Your Honor," her lawyer addressed the judge, "given the overwhelming nature of the evidence, my client wishes to discuss plea options with the prosecution." Sean watched the proceedings through courthouse security feeds. "How's the media coverage?" "Playing out exactly as planned," Amanda replied, monitoring news outlets. "They're portraying you as the victim of a sophisticated criminal conspiracy. Public sympathy is completely on your side." The screens showed Matthew being processed into federal custody. His designer suit replaced with prison orange, his executive demeanor crumbling under harsh fluorescent lights. The evidence linking him to the hit attempt is irrefutable, Garrett reported. His own criminal associates provided detailed testimonies in exchange for reduced sentences. In another section of the command center, Sarah monitored the financial aspects of the operation. Matthew's remaining assets are being frozen as we speak. Corporate accounts, personal holdings, even his offshore safety nets, all locked down. What about Tiffany's resources? Sean asked. The studio filed for bankruptcy this morning. All accounts are under investigation for fraud. She can't access a penny without triggering alerts. The morning's newspapers painted a devastating picture. Headlines screamed about Matthew's criminal empire, Tiffany's involvement, and the shocking betrayal of their social circle. Photos showed Matthew in handcuffs, Tiffany fleeing reporters, their former friends and associates distancing themselves from the scandal. Sir, Marcus called out, Matthew's preliminary hearing is starting. The courthouse feed showed Matthew facing a federal judge. His expensive criminal defense attorney looked nervous as prosecutors presented their evidence. Your Honor, the scope of Mr. Roberson's criminal activities is staggering, the prosecutor announced. We've uncovered connections to organized crime figures across 3 continents. Matthew's face showed real fear as the prosecutor continued listing charges. Each count carried substantial prison time. Each piece of evidence had been meticulously prepared to withstand legal scrutiny. The defendant's ties to human trafficking operations are particularly disturbing, the prosecutor added. We have documentation linking him to the disappearance of multiple young women brought into the country under false pretenses. In another courtroom, Tiffany faced her own legal reckoning. Her lawyer's attempts to separate her from Matthew's crimes crumbled as Sean's team released evidence of her active participation. The defendant wasn't merely aware of these operations, the prosecutor explained. She used her yoga studio as a front, providing cover for Mr. Roberson's human trafficking activities. Bank records show she personally profited from these schemes. Tiffany's composed facade cracked as the charges mounted. Each count referenced dates, locations, and activities that she thought had been carefully hidden. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, Mrs. Jordan was an active participant in planning an attempt on her husband's life. We have audio recordings confirming her role in hiring known criminals to attack Mr. Jordan. Sean's enhanced security protocols prevented any last-minute attempts by his targets to hide assets or escape justice. Each bank account, property deed, and business holding had been flagged for investigation. Matthew's trial is making international news, Amanda reported. His connections to organized crime have sparked investigations in multiple countries. The screens showed Matthew's former criminal associates scrambling to distance themselves. Each attempt to contact outside help only provided more evidence for prosecutors. His legitimate business partners are cooperating fully with authorities, Trina added. They're eager to prove they weren't involved in his criminal activities. Esther Bird watched the proceedings with cold satisfaction. Her daughter's betrayal had shattered their family, but justice was being served. I gave these to the prosecutors, she told Sean, handing over a file. Letters Tiffany wrote to Matthew, detailing their plans. Found them hidden in her old room at our house. The evidence proved devastating. Tiffany's own words condemned her, revealing the calculated nature of their schemes. Sean's team monitored multiple feeds as the operation reached its climax. Matthew, isolated in federal custody, facing a mountain of evidence. Tiffany, her carefully constructed social status destroyed, confronting the consequences of her choices. The charitable foundation is ready to launch, Sarah reported, using recovered funds from their illegal operations. The press release emphasizes support for victims of domestic abuse and corporate fraud. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Money that Matthew and Tiffany had stolen would now fund programs to protect others from similar schemes. Public opinion has shifted completely, Amanda noted. Social media is filled with support for you, condemning their actions. Former friends are coming forward with stories of suspicious behavior they noticed but didn't report. In his holding cell, Matthew finally grasped the full scope of Sean's revenge. Each criminal contact he'd tried to reach had been compromised. Each escape route had been blocked. Each contingency plan had been anticipated and countered. Tiffany, facing her own imprisonment, realized too late the magnitude of her miscalculation. The evidence Sean had gathered wouldn't just send her to prison. It would ensure she remained under surveillance long after her release. The criminal underworld has received the message, Ismail reported. Your handling of this situation has earned their respect and their fear. Sean watched the screens displaying his target's downfall. His revenge hadn't just destroyed their current lives. It had eliminated any possibility of them rebuilding their power. They thought they could manipulate the system, he told his team. Instead, the system became their prison. The operation's success exceeded even Sean's expectations. Matthew and Tiffany hadn't just been defeated. They had been systematically dismantled, their crimes exposed, their reputations destroyed, their futures erased. Operation Clean Slate had lived up to its name. Sean Jordan had demonstrated why betrayal carried such a heavy price, creating a lesson that would resonate through Chicago's power circles for years to come. Chapter 9. New Beginnings. 6 months after Operation Clean Slate, Sean stood before a group of MI6 recruits in a secure training facility. His presentation displayed tactics from his personal operation, now converted into training materials. Threat assessment isn't just about identifying enemies, he instructed. It's about understanding how personal connections can become vulnerabilities, and how to turn those vulnerabilities into advantages. The recruits studied footage from his systematic dismantling of Matthew and Tiffany's operations. Each phase demonstrated different aspects of intelligence gathering, tactical response, and strategic planning. Sir, a recruit raised her hand. How did you maintain operational security while managing multiple cover identities? By understanding that every role, even a cover, must be grounded in truth, Sean replied. The security consultant wasn't just a facade. It became a legitimate business. After the session, Garrett approached with a proposal. MI6 leadership is impressed with your new training program. They're suggesting we expand it into a full consultancy division. Private sector, Sean countered. More flexibility, fewer restrictions. Agreed. I'll handle the paperwork. You've earned this, Sean. The Jordan Security Consultancy launched with minimal fanfare but maximum impact. Within weeks, high-profile clients sought their services, drawn by Sean's reputation for handling complex threats. Another request from a Fortune 500 CEO, Trina reported, reviewing applications. His wife's involved with a suspected corporate espionage ring. Sounds familiar, Sean noted. Bring in Amanda for the psychological assessment. His sister had proven invaluable in developing client profiles. Her psychological insights, combined with Sean's tactical experience, created a unique approach to threat management. The Foundation's first project launches next month, Amanda added. A support network for victims of domestic fraud and corporate exploitation. Using Matthew's seized assets for the funding adds a certain poetic justice. The Jordan Foundation quickly gained recognition for its innovative programs. Each initiative incorporated lessons from Sean's experience, helping others protect themselves from similar schemes. In the women's federal prison, Tiffany attended mandatory counseling sessions. Her transformation from wealthy socialite to convicted felon served as a case study in consequences. Tell me about your choices, the prison counselor prompted. I thought I was so clever, Tiffany replied. Her designer yoga wear replaced by prison garb. Playing the victim, manipulating public opinion. I never realized Sean was 10 steps ahead, documenting everything. Across the country, in witness protection, Matthew faced his own demons. His cooperation with authorities had led to major criminal takedowns, but the price was a life of constant vigilance. Another syndicate boss arrested in Chicago, his handler informed him. Your testimony was crucial, but remember, you can never go back. Matthew nodded, understanding that his freedom came with permanent exile. His empire, his connections, his very identity had been erased. Meanwhile, Sean's security firm attracted top talent. Trina Gillespie joined as chief of operations, bringing her CIA experience to their expanding client base. We've got requests from 3 continents, she reported during their morning briefing. Word spreading about how we handled the Roberson case. Ismail Holmes, now heading their intelligence division, had transformed his street-level contacts into a sophisticated information network. Our preventive threat assessment program is showing results, he noted. Two potential situations neutralized before they escalated. Sean's relationship with his sister Amanda deepened through their work together. Her role in the foundation helped both of them process the betrayal they'd witnessed. "You're different now," she observed during a private dinner. "Stronger, but not harder. You've turned this experience into something positive." "The best revenge isn't just destruction," Sean replied. "It's creation. Building something meaningful from the ashes." The community that had once shunned Sean now sought his guidance. Former friends who'd believed Tiffany's lies approached with apologies and business proposals. "Mr. Jordan," a prominent banker requested, "we'd like to discuss upgrading our executive protection protocols. Your handling of the Roberson situation impressed our board." Sean's new dating life reflected his evolved perspective. He chose partners who understood and respected his complex world. "I appreciate your honesty about your work," said Catherine Maxwell, a corporate attorney he'd been seeing. "Not many men in your position would be so direct." "Deception has a price," Sean responded. "I've seen it collected." His team's reputation grew with each successful operation. They specialized in cases that required Sean's unique combination of intelligence, tradecraft, and personal insight. "Another client saved from corporate infiltration," Trina reported. "The perpetrators never saw us coming." "Just like old times," Sean noted, reviewing the operation files. The final validation came in an unexpected form. MI6 leadership, impressed by Sean's handling of his personal crisis, issued a commendation. "Your actions demonstrated exceptional judgment," the director stated in a private meeting. "You eliminated severe threats while maintaining operational security and showing remarkable restraint." "Restraint?" Sean questioned. "You could have eliminated your targets permanently. Instead, you chose to destroy them legally, thoroughly, and irrevocably. That's the mark of a true professional." The commendation meant less to Sean than the lessons he'd integrated into his new life. Each aspect of his operation against Matthew and Tiffany had revealed different applications for his skills. His command center, once focused on revenge, now served as the hub for legitimate security operations. The surveillance systems that had documented betrayal now protected clients from similar threats. "We've become something unique," Trina observed. "Not just security consultants or intelligence operators. We're preventing tragedies before they happen." The Jordan Security Consultancy's reputation grew beyond its origins. Clients sought them out not just for protection, but for their comprehensive approach to threat management. "Your experience gives you insight others lack," Amanda noted during a strategy session. "You understand both the tactical and emotional aspects of betrayal." Sean's new life balanced professional success with personal growth. He maintained his edge, his ruthlessness when required, but channeled it into protective rather than punitive action. The final proof of his victory came in small moments. Walking through Chicago without looking over his shoulder. Training new operatives to protect themselves from personal threats. Using his skills to prevent others from experiencing similar betrayals. Matthew and Tiffany's attempt to destroy him had instead catalyzed his evolution. Their betrayal had forced him to refine his abilities, to transform revenge into redemption. Sean Jordan emerged not just victorious, but vindicated. His enemies were neutralized, his skills enhanced, his purpose clarified. He had shown the world, both legitimate and underground, that betrayal carried consequences, but also that true strength lay in how one rebuilt from destruction. The story of his revenge became a legend in multiple circles, intelligence communities, corporate boardrooms, criminal underworlds. But Sean's focus remained on the future, on building something meaningful from the lessons of his past. In the end, he had achieved more than revenge. He had created a legacy of protection, turning personal pain into professional purpose. The man who had mastered destruction had learned to create, proving that the most complete victory isn't just in defeating enemies, but in transforming their attacks into opportunities for growth. Epilogue. A decade later, Sean Jordan stood at the podium of the International Security Conference in London, addressing a room full of intelligence operatives, corporate security chiefs, and government officials. The Jordan Security Consultancy had become the gold standard in threat prevention and personal security. 10 years ago, I learned firsthand how personal betrayal can intersect with professional threats, he told the audience. Today, We'll discuss how that experience revolutionized our approach to protective operations. In the front row, his wife Catherine Maxwell Jordan watched with pride. Their marriage of 7 years had proven that trust was possible even in their complex world. As a former prosecutor turned corporate defense attorney, she understood both the legal and personal implications of betrayal. The Jordan Security Consultancy occupied the top floors of a Chicago high-rise. Trina Gillespie, now Chief Executive Officer, managed their global operations. Under her leadership, they'd expanded to offices in London, Dubai, and Singapore. Another successful intervention in Hong Kong, she reported during their weekly video conference. The client's spouse was planning corporate espionage through their marriage. We contained it before any data breaches occurred. Ismail Holmes, heading their Asia-Pacific division from Singapore, had transformed from a promising martial artist into one of the world's top intelligence operators. His network of contacts spanned multiple continents, providing crucial early warnings of emerging threats. The preventive model you developed is changing the industry, he told Sean. We're stopping disasters before they start, saving lives and reputations. Amanda Garrett had combined her psychological expertise with Sean's tactical experience to create the Jordan Protocol, a comprehensive system for identifying and neutralizing personal security threats. Her books on the psychology of betrayal had become required reading at intelligence academies. Your case study formed the foundation, she reminded Sean during a family dinner. Though we've kept the names anonymous, the lessons continue to resonate. Garrett Hutchinson, retired from MI6, served as a special advisor to the consultancy. His experience helped navigate the complex relationships between private security operations and government intelligence agencies. Remember that CEO in Mumbai? He reminisced with Sean. His own brother was selling company secrets. We prevented an economic catastrophe while keeping the family intact. The Jordan Foundation had grown into a major force for positive change. Led by Sean's wife, Catherine, it provided support and resources to victims of domestic fraud and corporate exploitation. Their programs had helped thousands rebuild their lives after betrayal. We're opening 3 new support centers next month, Catherine announced during a board meeting. The demand for our services keeps growing. In a maximum security prison in Colorado, Tiffany Stone Jordan continued serving her 15-year sentence. Her model prisoner behavior hadn't earned early release. Sean's evidence had been too comprehensive, the charges too serious. She still leads yoga classes for inmates, a prison counselor reported. But the arrogance is gone. Your revenge succeeded beyond mere punishment. It forced her to confront her true nature. Matthew Roberson's witness protection hadn't provided the fresh start he'd hoped for. His testimony had helped dismantle several criminal organizations, but the price was a life of constant paranoia. Each new identity, each relocation, carried the fear of discovery. He works as a retail manager in Idaho now, Ismail's sources reported. No friends, no relationships, no connections. He jumps at shadows, expecting retribution from his former associates. The criminal underworld still whispered about the Roberson case. It had become a cautionary tale, teaching ambitious players that some targets were better left alone. Sean's methodical destruction of their empire served as a warning about the price of betrayal. Max, their loyal golden retriever, had passed away 2 years after the events, but his legacy lived on. The consultancy's K-9 training program, named in his honor, produced exceptional security dogs that could detect both physical and emotional threats. Nate Little had rebuilt his relationship with Sean after a period of careful vetting proved his loyalty during the operation had never wavered. Now semi-retired, he occasionally consulted on cases that required his specialized investigative skills. You taught me to trust my instincts, he told Sean during a rare meeting. That case showed me how to look beyond surface appearances. Esther Bird had channeled her pain into purpose, working with the Jordan Foundation to help other parents whose children had chosen destructive paths. Her support groups provided crucial understanding for families dealing with betrayal. I couldn't save my daughter from her choices, she often said in meetings. But I can help others recognize the warning signs. The yoga studio building had been transformed into the Jordan Foundation's main counseling center. The space that once hosted Tiffany's deceptions now offered healing and support to betrayal victims. Dr. Dennis Johnston, Sean's former physician, had joined the Foundation's Medical Advisory Board. His expertise helped develop programs addressing the physical impact of betrayal-related stress. "Your case changed how we approach patient care," he told Sean during a checkup. "We now understand that personal security threats can manifest as health issues." Joan Kelly, the observant neighbor who had first noticed Tiffany's suspicious behavior, became a community liaison for the consultancy's neighborhood watch programs. Her ability to spot subtle warning signs proved invaluable in training others. Sarah, their former cyber specialist, had established the consultancy's digital security division. Her teams protected clients from both technical and social engineering threats, using lessons learned from Matthew's attempted hacks. "We've prevented 12 major cyber attacks this quarter alone," she reported. Each one started with personal relationship exploitation. Marcus, who had led tactical operations during the Roberson case, now trained the consultancy's physical security teams. His experience had shaped their unique approach to protective services. "We don't just guard clients," he explained to new recruits. "We create environments where threats can't take root." The consultancy's training program had become legendary in security circles. Operatives learned not just tactical skills, but the subtle art of detecting betrayal before it manifested as physical threats. Geneva Best, Matthew's ex-wife who had provided crucial early warnings, occasionally consulted on cases involving sophisticated financial manipulation. Her insights into Matthew's methods helped identify similar schemes. "Financial predators follow patterns," she explained during a training seminar. "The Roberson case gave us a perfect template for recognition." The criminal organizations that Matthew had betrayed had largely forgotten him, finding new territories and opportunities. But their leaders still used his story to teach younger members about the dangers of overreach. "The Jordan incident," they called it in their circles. When amateur ambition met professional retribution, Sean and Catherine's home featured a state-of-the-art security system, but it wasn't the fortress many expected. They'd created a warm, welcoming space that balanced protection with normalcy. Their twin daughters, Sarah and Amanda, aged 6, attended a private school with discreet but comprehensive security measures. They were being raised to be both vigilant and compassionate, understanding their father's work without being burdened by its darker aspects. "Daddy helps people stay safe," they explained to friends, demonstrating the balanced perspective Sean and Catherine had worked to instill. The consultancy's client list included corporate leaders, celebrities, and government officials, but they also maintained a pro bono program for victims of domestic betrayal who couldn't afford their services. "Everyone deserves protection," Sean insisted during board meetings, especially those most vulnerable to manipulation. Their preventive approach had revolutionized personal security. Instead of reacting to threats, they identified and neutralized potential betrayals before they developed. This methodology, born from Sean's experience, had saved countless lives and reputations. The Jordan Protocol had been adopted by intelligence agencies worldwide, though few knew its origins in Sean's systematic dismantling of Matthew and Tiffany's schemes. Catherine's legal expertise had helped develop the consultancy's unique approach to evidence gathering. They built cases that could withstand legal scrutiny while maintaining client privacy. "We don't just protect people," she explained to potential clients. "We ensure they can defend themselves legally if necessary." Sean's reputation had evolved from feared operative to respected security innovator. His experience had shown that the most effective protection came from understanding both tactical and emotional vulnerabilities. The consultancy's research division, led by Amanda, continued studying patterns of betrayal across different cultures and contexts. Their findings helped refine threat assessment protocols and protective strategies. Regular family gatherings at Sean and Catherine's home included Amanda, her husband Dennis, and their children. These moments of normalcy proved that even those who had witnessed betrayal's darkest aspects could build trusting, healthy relationships. The Jordan Foundation's annual gala had become a major event in Chicago's social calendar. Unlike the charity events where Tiffany had once played victim, these gatherings celebrated genuine healing and empowerment. Sean's training programs for MI6 had evolved into international workshops attended by intelligence operatives from allied nations. His methods of combining personal security with counterintelligence had proven exceptionally effective. The consultancy's success rate approached legendary status. In 10 years, No client under their full protection had suffered a successful attack or betrayal. Their preventive methodology had proven itself repeatedly in increasingly complex situations. Looking out over Chicago's skyline from his office, Sean reflected on the decade's transformations. The betrayal that could have destroyed him had instead created something extraordinary, a legacy of protection and prevention that touched lives worldwide. His revenge against Matthew and Tiffany had been complete, but its true victory lay in the positive changes it sparked. Their attempt to destroy him had led to innovations in personal security that protected countless others from similar schemes. The Jordan Security Consultancy stood as proof that the most effective response to betrayal wasn't just punishment, but transformation, creating systems and methods that prevented others from suffering similar fates. Sean's story had become more than a cautionary tale about revenge. It demonstrated how personal trauma could be transformed into professional innovation, how betrayal could lead to better methods of protection, and how one man's response to treachery could help safeguard others from similar threats. The future held new challenges, but Sean faced them with the confidence of experience and the support of a loyal team. He had built something lasting from the ashes of betrayal, proving that the best revenge wasn't just destroying enemies, but creating something they could never have imagined possible. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.